Don't miss the awesome Naruto stories my sister creates. Her last channel was hacked, so to stay in the loop, please subscribe to her new channel. It would mean a lot to her, and you won't regret it. Hello to all lovers of lemon scenes. I invite you all to my boosty so you can watch your favorite Naruto What If stories in complete comfort. A subscription to Naruto Lemon, the first video with a full lemon, is already on my boosty channel. Dare! In the Valley of the End, two guys fought, Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto. The second, together with his friends, went to return the Uchiha back to the village. Naruto, in order to prevent his best friend from going down a dark path, was ready to hit the wall. And so the two friends flew at each other. Explosion. At this point, Kakashi arrived and saw the injured students. Looking at their injuries, he realized that they might die if they were not taken to the village. The man was not in the best condition. After the battle with Kabuto a couple of days ago, then with several of Orochimaru's henchmen, who came to the aid of the Four Sound, he was weakened. Realizing that he will convey only one, and then with great difficulty, the choice fell on Sasuke. He was not so badly injured. The gray-haired man put him on his back and went to the village. Naruto, who was still conscious, watched in disbelief as his teacher walked off into the distance, abandoning him. The rain made the stone river bank where the blond man was on become slippery. The boy began to slowly slide into the river. A couple of minutes later he was already floating with the flow. Naruto woke up in his subconscious and saw himself in front of him. The only difference was in the eyes. The clone had a red pupil with black sclera. "Who are you?" Naruto asked. "I am Yami, or your dark side," said the clone. "What do you want?" Naruto asked. "I want to remove the bookmarks and open your eyes to another part of the world," he said and hugged Naruto. "You have to take off your rose-colored glasses." When it was all over, Yami disappeared and Naruto appeared in front of the cage, his back to it. Kyuubi woke up and wondered what the Jinchuriki would do. It wasn't all true, he began to think out loud. I was just a weapon. I did not notice such simple facts due to my optimism and bookmarks. I mean almost nothing to my friends. Shikamaru doesn't care about anything. Jeiji, every now and then, he eats. Kiba is an idiot who thinks that he is better than everyone else, but who would say? Neji was an asshole until he punched him. Sakura and Ino are fucking whores and fools, and I was chasing one of them, you fool. They don't think about anything except Sasuke. It's as if Sasuke, a complete idiot, only thinks about power and revenge. It would be better if he really went to Orochimaru. Kakashi said that those who abandon friends are worse than trash, and he abandoned me. The third old man, an old bastard, took all my inheritance, lied to me, set bookmarks, so let him suffer in the Shinigami's stomach. And my godfather left me alone and went to the brothels and wrote his damn porn. I tried to help everyone. Kyuubi was surprised that her Jinchuriki was in such a state. And he was the most persistent in her entire life. She even secretly respected him. It was unusual for her to see him morally broken. Almost everyone hates me, except for a couple of people, but they are no better, they just left me to die. Ever since I was a child, they tried to kill me. First they starved and beat him, then they burned him, drowned him, until he graduated from the academy. This withering look of malice. Why was I born? Am I born to suffer all my life? No one will understand me, not even Gaara. At least he has protection in the form of sand, he could easily cope with the residents. And I could have died calmly on the first day of my life. And I was always alone. Kyuubi understood him. All her life she also wondered what she was needed for. Having more or less calmed down, he looked around and saw a cage. He stood up and walked into it. But the fox did not understand what he wanted. When the guy entered the prison, he looked into the eyes of the fox. "Kill me. I'm tired of living," the blonde said with confidence in his eyes. And Kyubi looked at him in disbelief. How could this man give up? What did they bring the poor child to? After thinking a little, she decided to take everything into her own hands, or rather her paws. "You're wrong. I can understand your pain like no one else," she said. And Naruto looked at her with nickel-and-dime eyes. Because he was close to the fox. Looking closer, he saw many scars under the fur and felt guilty before her. "Sorry, I was a complete fool, because I didn't see how you were suffering. But you, too, were always alone, everyone hated you, and also caused enormous moral and physical pain. Forgive me," he said. "I forgive you, and since you have freed yourself from the shackles of the village, would you like to become my student and friend?" "Well, I agree." "That is great." "Kyubi-san," the Jinchuriki began, but was interrupted. "For starters, know these stupid suffixes, and since we are friends now, call me Kurama, because this is my real name." "Okay, Kurama." "Can I pet you?" the boy asked. After thinking a little, the fox agreed, because it would strengthen their relationship. "You can." He slowly approached her and began to carefully stroke her, afraid that he would be eaten. "Be brave, I don't bite," said the fox. Overcoming his fear, he stroked the fox, causing it to begin to purr. Then he tried to open the seal, which made Naruto's parents appear, but the boy did not listen to them. "As an apology, they gave me the key to the seal, information about techniques, training, etc." Having apologized and said that they loved him and would support him in any choice, they began to disappear, but they heard their desired words, "I forgive you," and disappeared. Naruto opened his eyes to the real world this time. Looking around, he saw that he had been washed ashore, all his wounds had healed. And the clothes were torn, there was no food and money. "What am I supposed to do?" "Calm down," Kurama said. "Oh." Naruto screamed into his subconscious with fear. "What are you yelling about?" "Yes, you scared me." "So, listen carefully, you have weapons and chakra. When you meet someone, you will need to kill him and take away valuables. But you can't do that," the boy tried to object. "Do you want to die?" "No." "So, do what I say." "Hi." Naruto said and went in an unknown direction. A couple of hours later he went out onto the road where a traveler was just passing. Fortunately for the Jinchuriki, he was an ordinary person, so the rogue did not notice how he was killed. Naruto received a black cloak, money, food, and a couple of things that can be sold or used for survival. When evening came, he lit a fire and sat down opposite it. After thinking about everything he had done that day, the boy began to cry. "What are you doing?" asked the nine-tailed fox, which came out of print and was reduced to the size of a human. "I killed an innocent person. I'm no better than some renegades. That's all? Look, forget about society now. There is a rule of nature, the weak feed on the strong, so follow it. And you will immediately feel better," said the fox. "Thank you, Kurama," the calm Jinchuriki thanked her. "Okay, now go to sleep. Refusal will not be accepted." I understand," he said and lay down on the ground. When he fell asleep, Kurama lay down next to him and covered him with her tails. The next day, Naruto walked along the same path where he killed the traveler, hoping to find a settlement. In half a week he came to a small village. During all this time, Kurama kept her nose out of the seal, and Naruto was always wearing a cloak with a hood over it. One day Naruto swore to her that he would never cry. The Kyubi did a great job of molding the Jinchuriki into a normal personality. How did she do it? She just kept buzzing all over his ears about how he should behave in society now. Let's get back to the present. Having found a tavern, he entered the building and wanted to approach the bartender, but... "What kind of baby is this? Go to mommy. This is not a place for children," said the man, and clearly he was not an easy resident, but some kind of robber. "Do you want problems?" said the blonde, "he definitely doesn't like this guy." "You've completely misplaced yourself," he began, but was interrupted by a kunai in his stomach and Naruto. "Don't underestimate me," Naruto said angrily. He remembered this man on the reward poster. This man killed all the inhabitants of the village in the south with particular cruelty. At the sight of him, the boy was torn with anger. "Oh you!" This time the bandit's throat was torn. Naruto grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and asked the bartender where he could get his reward. Having learned everything he needed, he went for a reward. Having received it, he took a hotel room and went to bed. The next morning, Naruto had a good breakfast and walked along the road, wondering what to do. "Since you can be here for about 2 weeks, then let me train you." "I'm all for it, then I'll go into the forest." "Where do we start?" asked the Jinchuriki, already in the forest. "First, let's start with physical training." "After a couple of hours." "You were going to kill me." "I'm going to die right now," the blonde said. "Well, I think 500 approaches are enough," said the fox sitting in front of the poor boy. After an hour's rest, they moved on to the technicians. "I know your elements, fire, wind and lightning. Let's start with fire, because I understand it. So much so that you will use fire even without seals. Let's start with the fireball. Use clones to speed up the learning process. Come on." After another couple of hours, there was nothing left of the forest. "Well, since you have learned this technique, now you will use it without seals and create it at different points of the body." Naruto spent the rest of the day on this task, but got good results. And after eating dinner, he was happy as a watchdog. But Kurama had to drag him to the room, because he could not move from exhaustion. In addition, he had a full stomach. And when he walked, the opinion appeared that he was drunk. That's how he walked. "I took it on my own head," she growled. During these 2 weeks, Naruto learned several fire techniques without seals, and to them he added the element of wind to enhance them. "I improved my taijutsu, because with banal blows you can't do anything to an enemy who consistently has 9 limbs." Having bought a bingo book, cards, food and collected his things, the Jinchuriki walked along the road to the border of the country. The path ahead was not easy. He needed to go abroad in a short time, because Konoha began to look for Jinchuriki, or at least make sure that he died. On the last night, he discussed with the fox which country they would go to for a while. As a result, they drew up a whole route where they would go, first to the waves, then to the sand, from there to the whirlpool or vice versa, it doesn't matter, and there are small countries between them. The land of waves is several kilometers away, but having thought it over carefully, Naruto would rather go through other countries. It turns out the journey will take about 2 months, but he will have less interference with Konoha shinobi. 2 months passed smoothly. Naruto managed to finally train his 2 elements, fire and wind. "I haven't figured out lightning yet, Kurama doesn't understand it, and learning on your own is not an easy task." Taijutsu also got better, but not enough. In addition to training, he killed people from the bingo book. For this he received money, and Kurama got his soul and chakra. Yes, after Naruto learned that Kurama could become stronger by eating people, their chakra and souls, he walked around with eyes the size of saucers. Upon arrival, Naruto took a hotel room, and there he immediately fell asleep and went to sleep. Kyubi didn't mind, she herself was no less tired from the road. One day, clouds were gathering in the land of waves. In a clearing in the forest, Naruto trained the element of lightning. He did very well at it. And now another attempt to recreate a completely new technique led to the fact that lightning appeared and struck the 9-tailed fox, who was sleeping peacefully on the grass. "I mean, I'm sleeping, I'm not touching anyone, but here." "Well, that's it for you, fox. Kurama said and started shooting fireballs like a machine gun. Sorry, the blonde shouted. When Kyubi got tired of the chase, he lay down on the grass again. The clouds began to thicken even more. Naruto decided that this time he would infuse a lot of chakra. Having done so, he began to collect elemental chakra in his hand. And suddenly a huge lightning bolt flew at him from the clouds. Kurama smelled something burning, and a large source of elemental and natural energy appeared behind her. She turns her head and sees Naruto being hit by a large stream of lightning. Naruto, stop, otherwise you will turn into a vegetable and a battery, she shouted to him. Hearing this, Naruto tried to release lightning in some way. But his body stopped obeying him, and he began to panic. And then a miracle happened, his body simply, on instinct, released lightning through his other hand towards the mountain. Well, like in Avatar, after checking that Naruto was okay, Kurama turned her head towards the mountain and her jaw rolled across the land of waves. Kurama, what are you doing? Said Naruto, and looking there he was shocked. There was nothing left of the mountain, not even a word at all. When the dust settled they saw a large fox and at the same time very angry. This is a chakra beast. They are extinct. Naruto, it looks like you broke his home, where he was in deep hibernation. And now he is angry and very hungry, said the fox. What about Naruto? He is no longer there. He's not the timid type, he ran straight towards the beast. Hey, wait, what about me? Kurama said and ran after him. Naruto had a lot of elemental chakra left in him, so he enveloped himself in wind and ran at great speed. When the boy was a short distance in front of the fox, the blonde created a blade from the wind. Having slipped under it, he ripped open his stomach and, in addition, tore all his organs. The animal could not stand it and fell to the ground in eternal sleep. Do you mind if I eat it? Asked Kyubi, who came up. Yes, no, just don't touch the skin. And why do you need it? Anything can be useful. When the fox finished eating, she climbed into the seal. And Naruto took the skin and went to the room. Having completed the remaining routine, he lay down on the bed. Naruto often thought at night, was it even worth going with the fox, but again he came to the conclusion that it was worth it, and went to bed. That night he had nightmares, in which he saw all the torment that he received in the village. Meanwhile, Kurama was thinking about an equally important matter: what should I do with him? If you leave this dunce to himself, then he will definitely get involved in some kind of trouble and die. But I can't allow this, he is the first person who made friends with me, not counting his father. It can make him immortal, but how? Exactly, there is one way, but it is not finalized. The next day, when Naruto came to that same clearing, a fox came out of the seal. Naruto, I have a proposal for you, she said. And what kind of proposal? You can become stronger and even immortal, but this path will not be easy. And what kind of path? The way of the bijou, said the fox. Way of the bijou? Kurama, did you smoke anything there? A human cannot become a bijou. Moreover, I am a bijou. Don't be ridiculous. Naruto said. First of all, this can be done. Secondly, you will get it from me. Do you even know how much I suffered that night? I stayed up all night and thought about this method, for your sake. And you are a fool. She started screaming and then crying. I'm afraid of losing you, because you are my first and only friend. Forgive me. Naruto was ashamed, he simply refused the help of his girlfriend, and he refused impudently. And to boot, he brought her to tears. He hugged the fox and began to stroke her, thereby calming her down. So you agree? She said, calming down. Naruto wondered if this was worth it or not. He wanted to refuse again, but this time politely, but the boy remembered nightmares and life in the village. Naruto understood only one thing from all this: he was always weak compared to others, because of this he was always bullied. He must be the strongest so that no one can bully him and Kurama. They've suffered enough. I agree, he said confidently. That's great, listen carefully. That's great, listen carefully. While we are in the land of waves, you must train your body. Endurance and especially the central nervous system. After that, we will go to the whirlpool, and there we will find some notes. The problem is that you need to have enormous preparation, because you will get a lot of pain. Well, and in addition, I need to finish the CCCH for myself, Kurama led the lecture. Do you and other bijou have SCC? Asked Naruto. Not really. Initially, we didn't have it, then when the Sage of the Six Paths released us, we got it, but it was primitive. However, having learned to manipulate it, we began to improve it. It worked best for me, due to the large amount of chakra. But when sealed into you, your father divided me into 2 parts. You can't even imagine how painful it is. My entire central nervous system was torn and the pain was enormous, as if I was cut in half, the fox finally said in a sad voice. Forgive me if I rubbed salt on the wound. I promise that no one will ever divide you into any parts and seal you away, the blonde encouraged her. So, why are we sitting around? Let's work, you have to train until you can't stand up. Well, I need to heal the SCCH until the end, said the fox. In one half of the clearing you can see a 9-tailed fox sitting with his eyes closed and meditating. On the other half, clones of the blonde man are sitting and also meditating. Only the original, i.e. Naruto, worked like hell. At one point, Kurama opened her eye and looked at the boy. Naruto needs to keep an eye on you until you become a bijou, she thought and continued her meditation. Naruto spent the next 3 months training. He now has an athletic build. His SCH was at the level of a strong Kage. And her stamina was enormous, even compared to Uzumaki standards. He spent the remaining time on ninjutsu. And Kurama finally restored the SCH. Naruto's character has changed a bit. Now he could calmly take control of his emotions. However, not everything was so smooth. For example, yesterday. Flashback, yesterday. That day Naruto trained until he lost his pulse again. Of course, Kurama brought him to his room and put him to bed, because they would soon hit the road. However, at night, due to natural needs, Naruto woke up and wandered to the toilet, combined with a bathtub. Approaching the door, he saw a light underneath it. Robbers, he thought, and began to create a paralyzing lightning technique. Suddenly entering there, he saw a girl with fiery red hair. And you will think, so what? Really, what's the big deal? It's true she was naked, because, dried herself off after taking a bath, and in addition she had fox ears and 9 tails. Naruto froze in shock at what he saw. And Naruto, the stranger, said, stuttering a little. And Naruto was taken aback by this and wanted to leave the room, when suddenly he stepped on the soap. And our main character found himself in a dream world. End of flashback. He had already recovered in the morning, and this time, having already gone to his needs, the blonde sat down at the table. While eating ramen, he called his girlfriend. What do you want? She asked. You know, I had a very strange dream, he began. And what kind of dream? After what was said, she tensed. I woke up at night and went to the bathroom to do some important business. As I approached the door, I saw a light and thought there were robbers there. I went there, and there was a girl there, and she was also naked. And she said my name when she saw me. Wait, she had fox ears and 9 tails. 9 tails. Kurama, are you hiding something from me? Naruto began to get excited. Looking at the fox, he saw her eyes darting in panic. Kurama? Well, this. I have 3 forms, my real form, Kitsune, now I am in the second animal form, and then you saw me in my human form, it can be with tails and ears or without them, i.e. third form. The latter requires SSC due to some problems. The author did not come up with an explanation. Well, having returned it, SSC, I decided to wash myself while you were sleeping, otherwise it is impossible to use the shower normally with your paws. I had already dried myself and wanted to return to print when you were already at the door. And then you slipped and fell. I'm sorry for hiding this. I won't be offended if you hate me. Kurama finally curled up into a ball, awaiting retribution. But Naruto started petting her instead. It would be stupid of me to hate you. But from now on, tell me about this. And if I then tried to kill you, everything would not be so good, Naruto said, scratching the fox's belly. When you saw me naked, you froze in shock. Did you like my body? Naruto blushed deeply at what was said, and Kurama giggled from his face. And when I stroke you and scratch your belly, it turns out that I touched at least your chest. If it weren't for the fur, the fox's face would have been all red from these words, but the frozen ears and fluffy tails gave it away. And this made Naruto neigh like a horse. Blockhead, pervert. Kurama chased him throughout the room, and then raped him, I wanted to say, but that's not what's needed. Quickly taking the already folded things, Naruto ran towards the land of waves. And Kurama simply returned to the seal and began Kurama therapy. For about a month, our company walked to the port city, stopping for the night and hunting for Nukanins and criminals. Arriving at the port, they began to look for a ship with a crew that would take them to the island they needed. Unfortunately, the sailors were afraid of the waters where they needed to go. Unable to bear it, Kurama used genjutsu on one of the teams. Of course, she wasn't the best at this, but it worked for ordinary people. Therefore, a week later they sailed to the island. So what are we going to do here? Naruto asked. I will look for my old notes, and you will teach Fuinjutsu to your clan, Kurama answered him. Kurama, please tell me, has anyone from my clan survived? Unfortunately, no, Kurama answered sadly. How did my clan disappear? Naruto asked for the third time. Your clan was very powerful, but very peaceful. He didn't get involved in wars. But 3 countries united against him. The Uzumaki would have won if the barriers had not fallen and help from Konoha had arrived in time. But in my humble opinion, the elders of Konoha betrayed your clan while the Hokage was in the dark. Kyubi spoke with sadness in her voice. She didn't want Naruto to suffer. This means that the Konokovites betrayed my clan, my father, and me. Here we are, the fox changed the subject. There seems to be a barrier here. Yeah, bite your finger and put it on the barrier. Having completed all of the above, they saw the ruins of the city. Let's go, said the fox, and they went deeper into the village. They walked until they reached a huge building. Even though it was destroyed, it was still very beautiful. So, there should be a passage here, the fox said, and sat down on the huge sign of the Uzumaki clan on the floor. Probably, Naruto stood next to him. About Kyubi no Yoku, and the surviving Uzumaki, said an old voice. Wah, the named duo cried out. Who are you, old man? What are you doing here? Naruto asked. I am Uzumaki Ashina. As I understand it, Kyubi came for her notes, and you, a young man, came for the clan's inheritance, said a gray-haired old man in clothes from those times. How are you still alive? Kurama asked. I'm not alive, consider me just a clone. I'm here to open the way to the vault for you and tell you that you are now the new Yuzukage, Ashina said, disappearing. Farewell. Is he my grandfather? Naruto asked. It seems so, the fox answered him. Suddenly, in place of the clan sign on the floor, a staircase leading down appeared. Go ahead, this is the entrance to the vault. The vault consisted of a huge underground room and tall wooden cabinets containing scrolls. They spent a whole month designing the first cabinet, and there are only 5 of them. One day, Kurama went to the river while Naruto was preparing food. We've already read half of the second bookcase. What took her so long, he thought. The blonde stood up and went to the river where Kurama was. Looking out from the hill, he saw Kurama bathing in her real form. She looked like a humanoid fox. The structure of the body could be said to be human except for the head and legs. She had fiery red fur. The muzzle was like that of a fox with long ears, as well as long shoulder-length hair the same color as the fur. She had size 3 breasts. I don't understand this, if anything, a good waist, an elastic ass with 9 fluffy tails. In addition, she had strong and elegant legs. Or paws. P.S. Her legs are like Grievous from Star Wars, it's easier for me to describe their shape. Meanwhile, Kurama. Now you can swim in your real form. Naruto won't come soon, and when he does, I'll return to animal form. But the wind was blowing in her direction, thus the smell of ready-made food interrupted the smell of Naruto. But unfortunately, the wind stopped blowing and Kurama smelled it. Turning her head, she saw a hill. And after a couple of seconds she stood on it and looked at Naruto. Kurama, there, dinner is ready, said Naruto. And Kurama didn't understand why he was looking at her so strangely. Looking down and seeing herself naked, she immediately returned to her animal form. Why are we spying on girls? She asked. No, what are you talking about, Kurama? The boy tried to get out of it. That's it, Naruto, you will be the signature dish today. Realizing that worse than just a hungry 9-tailed fox would be a very angry and very hungry 9-tailed fox. After about 2 hours they managed to do training, sparring, and eat. And anyway, I'll eat you someday, said the fed kitsune. She is now in human form. And I tell you again and again that I am inedible. The boy was indignant. We'll check now, she said and, appearing behind him, licked his neck. Save me, a huge fox is going to eat me. Naruto screamed and immediately found himself on a tree. And you are very tasty, said the fox. What are you doing? It's already cuckoo, the red Jinchuriki was indignant. Yes, okay, I was joking. Come on, break's over. It took 5 months to read the 3 scroll cabinets. It turned out that the entries became more and more complicated, and it took more time than expected to read them. And here is the last closet, where Kurama found his notes, and Naruto found a bunch of encrypted notes. And they spent another 2 months deciphering and reading the scrolls. Then a month to consolidate the learned material. Naruto, I have a conversation with you. Naruto, I have an important conversation with you, Kurama said. Yes, did you want something? Naruto asked. I wanted to talk about your transformation into a bijou. Firstly, when you become a bijou, the seal will break. Secondly, I calculated some of the nuances during the transformation process. And what? The process can stretch from 1 day to a week. And at this time we will be sending chakra to distant lands, so we will need to put up barriers. The only thing that is unknown is how much they will hold back my chakra. I wouldn't want guests at an unnecessary moment. Thirdly, so that you are not dead, I will share my strength with you. And now we need to get ready in a couple of days. Let's go to Suna, there are few people there and you can escape at any minute. Kurama finished her speech. Then I'll go, Naruto said. He packed the most necessary things into his backpack: money, cards, his notes, throwing weapons, food. He began to wear the skin of a chakra beast, the same fox in the land of waves, instead of an already tattered cloak. He also carried 2 axes with short handles made of chakra-conducting metal, which were useful not only in battles, but also in everyday life. He found them in the weapons room, located next to the storage room. Before Naruto even noticed, he was already lying in his sleeping bag. They were heading out tomorrow and he needed to get some sleep, but Naruto couldn't sleep. Lately he's been asking himself, what does Kurama mean to me? So Naruto decided to walk around the area and try to answer his question. Maybe she is a teacher for him? This was true, but this student-teacher relationship developed into friendship. But now the question is, can there be something stronger than friendship between them? Love? To Naruto, she was beautiful in appearance in all its forms. And her character is sometimes not the best, but show me a person who has no flaws. Then the question is asked, will she reciprocate his feelings? Turning his head, he saw Kurama in his real form. It seems that she also decided to take a walk, and given her mistakes, when Naruto caught her in an awkward moment, she moved far enough from the camp. Realizing that this was his chance, Naruto approached Kurama. Don't make it. And? Naruto? What are you doing here? Kurama, I wanted to tell you something. Naruto began to blush. What? Asked the surprised girl. His behavior seemed strange to her. And to boot, her sympathy showed him embarrassment. But there was no point in transforming into her animal form. Naruto had already seen all of her forms. Well, how should I say, Naruto's heart was beating wildly. Calm down, tell it like it is, the fox tried to help him speak out. Kurama. Kurama, I love you. I love you in all your incarnations, forms. Naruto squeezed out. From these words, Kurama herself fell into a stupor. No one spoke such words to her. Nobody liked her in any form. In animal form they are afraid of her, in real form they call her ugly and a mistake of nature, in human form they fall in love with her until she shows her tails and ears. And here, I love everything about you, your character, your ears, your eyes, and your tails. Naruto slowly walked towards Kurama, who slowly walked back until her back was pressed against a tree. Taking the chance, Naruto grabbed her black lips. He did not expect an answer to his feelings, thinking that he would be rejected. But his terrible proposals were broken by the answer to Kurama's kiss. I love you too, she said. My little fox, the blonde said and embraced her and began to stroke the kitsune, from which Kurama began to purr throughout the forest. And you are my little fox, she answered and began to stroke his torso. After Naruto's death, a lot has changed in Konoha. Kakashi began to blame himself for the death of his student. Tsunade kept up with him and was on a drinking binge, and Jiraiya went on a long-term mission feeling guilty. Sasuke suffered punishment, and the others stopped trusting him, and Hinata generally despised him. The others took his death more easily, but they still missed the always cheerful blonde. Danzo. Everyone knows this old guy. His plans to reseal the Jinchuriki failed. The Akatsuki were not happy with this outcome. They would have to wait several years to seal the nascent Kyubi. Only the Kage of other villages rejoiced at the weakening of Konoha. Over the 3 years of Naruto's journey, Sasuke will have to regain his trust, Danzo will have to do his dirty deeds, and Akatsuki will have to prepare to catch the Bijou and come up with something with the 9 tails. After a hot night, Naruto was the first to wake up. He was touched by Kurama's peaceful face. She had never been so happy and calm before. Naruto kissed her little black fox nose, which made her nose twitch. In response, warm air rushed out of Naruto and the fox opened her scarlet eyes with animal pupils. Good morning, Ku, the blonde said tenderly. And the same to you, Naru, answered Kurama no less tenderly. It's time for us to go, the guy said with pity in his voice, stroking his red-haired happiness. I think I'll put you on me and run at my maximum speed, the girl said, getting up. Come on. Naruto said sadly, which made Kurama involuntarily giggle. Well, are you ready? Asked a couple of minutes later a huge fox the size of the Hokage mountain, if not more. Probably, the blonde said, holding tightly to the fur, as it ran at great speed toward Suna. 4 hours later they were already there. In the middle of numerous sand dunes stood a broken mountain. Entering one of the caves, Naruto installed all sorts of barriers and seals, and Kurama created a pentagram with all kinds of circles, hieroglyphs, etc. on the floor. Listen carefully. Now you sit in a circle, and I will draw the rest of the pentagram on you. Then you will drink my blood and no refusal will be accepted. I'll make a couple of seals and pour my chakra into you, the fox said in all seriousness. Naruto didn't argue and did everything said above. Kurama had been pouring massive amounts of chakra into Naruto all day. Thanks to this and the blood the blonde drank, the process ended in the evening. Naruto was sleeping like a baby, because the whole process was accompanied by a huge burning pain. And everything seemed to be fine, but in the end a couple of barriers to hide the chakra fell down. The next day Naruto woke up in a good mood. "Oh, are you awake? How are you feeling?" asked the kitsune preparing the food. "Just great," he said and sat down to breakfast. "You cook very tasty," the guy said at the end of the meal. "You haven't changed much, only your pupil has become animalistic." "It looks like the process is still underway," said the fox, studying the blonde. "Although, we'll have to try something when we find some settlement." Coming out of the cave, they headed towards the border, when out of nowhere a technique flew at Naruto, but it was covered by Kurama. Having looked at where the technique had flown from, they saw 10 Suna Anbu who passed by here at night and felt a large release of chakra. Kurama had a terrible wound on her back, because she was in human form and the skin could not provide anything against the combined technique of 10 shinobi. Naruto caught the fallen girl, hatred began to fill him. A huge ominous ki was felt throughout the entire area. Naruto's eyes became golden with a fox pupil and black scara, fangs and claws grew, the lines on his cheeks became more distinct. Kurama, seeing the changes in Naruto, did not know how to react. The blonde kissed her forehead and carefully laid her down on the sand. He looked menacingly at the Anbu, a technique similar to a bijou bomb began to appear on his hand, but the only difference was that Naruto's technique consisted only of chaos. Kurama wanted to stop him, because he could die without holding the chakra, but she stopped when she saw how he perfectly controlled it. The Anbu didn't even have time to blink when one had an axe stuck in his head, and the other was turned into mincemeat by Naruto who appeared. They were taken aback by this and in vain Naruto killed the third, because for this the remaining Anbu managed to chop off his hand. Naruto absorbed the souls of dead people and his arm grew back, but 3 Anbu were not enough for him. He wants blood, the blood of those who encroached on the life of his little fox. The blonde appeared behind one of the Anbu and took a bite of his meat, and immediately jumped away from the attacks of the remaining enemies. There were 10 such attacks and they were quite effective. Almost all the remaining Anbu were bitten and cut, 3 were killed. Unfortunately for them, Naruto has changed, he now has golden ears and 9 tails. Realizing that the more he eats, the faster the transformation process goes, Naruto began to eat the corpses that were not yet cooled down. Once in the stomach, they immediately dissolved in it, because Naruto, using chakra, accelerated his metabolism. And now a golden 9-tailed fox the size of an elephant stands before the attackers. Of course, they didn't have a chance against him, they were all eaten by him. All this was monitored by a 3-meter fox, Kurama. Uzumaki came up to her in the form of a fox and hugged her. "Naru, is that you?" the fox asked cautiously. She was afraid that he was consumed by hatred and he would destroy everything and everyone. "Yes, it's me." "Kurama, are you afraid of me?" Naruto asked. "No, I was afraid that you had lost control of yourself," she replied, returning to her human form, followed by Naruto. "Oh, how beautiful you are. Ears, tails," Kurama began to look at him and squeeze him. "That's it, it's decided, we'll go and feed you a couple of villages." "Are you sure?" Yes, he squeezed him harder. "Oh, you'll strangle." A year has passed since that day, a lot has changed, like Naruto. Mostly he has changed in appearance. He had tanned skin and the same blonde hair as before. He wore black pants with sandals of the same color for a shinobi, 2 axes with short handles hung on his belt, and he was wearing fox skin, which protected him from high temperatures and much more. He wore it like a cloak, covering his head. Fox, it looked like the fox ate a man. Well, I can't describe it properly. Eating villages, he reached the size of his girlfriend, while everyone was thinking how these villages could disappear. Kurama, when moving, was reduced to a small 9-tailed fox, and was located in Naruto's inner pocket, which gave surprise to enemies. And what? You go to attack the guy, and his mother fox comes out of his pocket, gigantic in size. Well, you already know the result. And she walked around the city in human form. She wore either a yukata or simple clothes, and could also be in shinobi clothes. You ask, where does she get her clothes? And I'll answer you, he just goes into the store at night, takes everything he needs and dumps it, sealing it in the seal on his body that Naruto put on it. During this year, they learned about Akatsuki and their plans, so Naruto and Kurama puzzled over this problem for a long time. Now they were running to save Kyubi's brother, but as soon as they arrived Shikaku was sealed into a statue, which immediately disappeared. Deciding that since they were late, they needed to kill 2 of the Akatsuki before they escaped. Meanwhile, Team number 7 and 8 approached the shelter. It seemed like it was in the canon Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura, Sai, Guy, Lee, Neji, Tenten, and Grandma Chia to boot. Before they had time to approach the entrance to the cave, Deidara flew out of it without one arm. Polundra, call everyone upstairs, he shouted and flew out of harm's way. Bitch, Deidara scammed. Damn you. Sasori was now shouting. Looking into the cave, they saw a bunch of broken puppets, and in the middle of it all stood Sasori and some man in fox skin. A black substance appeared in the man's hand, emitting black and red lightning bolts of energy. A second, and Sasori is no longer alive, having turned into splinters. As it turned out, Naruto immediately began to blow up everything for his grandmother, which Deidara was freaking out about. And since they sealed the bijou, the demolition man, Deidara, decided to retreat from here. Who are you? Kakashi asked. Who are you? Kakashi asked. I'm Kira, a ghoul, a fox, a money dealer, a playboy, a fighting philanthropist, or simply Zubenko Mikhail Petrovich, a mafioso, answered Naruto, who was simply mocking him. Kurama was simply dying of laughter, because there was something to laugh about. Kakashi began to have a nervous tic, and his face showed universal indignation, gasp and shock. Can you tell me your name? The ashen-haired man asked irritably. You, not the name, the blonde said and took Gaara by the scruff of the neck. And here it is. Red, grows in deserts, with the taste of sand, which is why it is bitter. Keep it yours, and he threw the former Jinchuriki at Kakashi. If it were not for the seals and barriers, then the laughter of the 9-tailed fox would be heard throughout the entire country of fire. Well, looks like all the fun is over, so I'm off. It's boring with you. Kira, the ghoul, the fox, etc. began to leave. How? Wait! Neji shouted. What do you want? You look like Naruto. I saw with my Byakugan, he said. Damn Hugo, Naruto said angrily, the former fun was no longer there. How could I forget about this? Take off your hood, Kakashi demanded. Naruto, I think the time has come, Kurama said mentally, sitting in the form of a small fox in the inner pocket of the skin. It's time to carry out Plan K. If it fails, then we'll move on to Plan Y. Okay. Naruto answered the two at once and took off his hood. His old comrades didn't recognize him at first, but after a couple of seconds they recognized him as Naruto. And the female part noticed that he had become very handsome, but his eyes frightened them. Naruto, why didn't you return to the village? Sakura said. To this hell? No way, he shouted angrily. He's not the same boy anymore. You want me to return to where I was always betrayed? It's good that the bookmarks fell off of me, otherwise I would have remained a dunce and a blind man, he continued. And the Konokovites were in shock. Naruto, be gentle with them, we need allies against Akatsuki, Kurama said. Naruto, let's go to Konoha, Kakashi suggested. I already wanted to visit home, I need help against Akatsuki. After defeating them, we will go our separate ways. Naruto said and went out. What about Gaara? Sasuke asked. He is dead. I can revive him, Chie said. After a couple of hours. The Kazekage was taken to Suna and now Naruto and the Konoha men were heading to Konoha. But bad luck, it's already getting dark and they'll have to stop for the night. Luckily for them, Naruto knew the entire area like the back of his hand, and they came to a village near a river. The next morning, Teams 7 and 8 ate and looked for Naruto. Although there is a chance that he simply ran away from them. But when they approached the river they saw him with some girl. They hid their chakra and hid in all directions, eavesdropping on them. And they didn't notice them at all, focusing on conversation. Forgive me, they sealed your brother, Naruto said. I'm not angry with you, but I'm afraid what will happen if Jubi wakes up, the girl said worriedly. I don't know, but I won't let you be offended, Uzumaki reassured her. And as usual you'll get into trouble, Kurama said sarcastically. I won't get into anything, the blonde tried to wriggle out of the accusation. Yes, I've been with you all your life and I know how you can't get into trouble, she said sarcastically and jumped on Naruto and knocked him down. Although, if it weren't for your adventures on your ass, we would hardly have met. Oh, you cunning fox, the guy said playfully and began to tickle Kurama. No need a ha ha ha. Naru a ha ha ha. I'm afraid of tickling a ha ha ha, she said. But Naruto was already hanging over her, which was his mistake, because with the help of his legs Kurama sends him into the river. He emerged from it all wet, and Kurama laughed as usual. Well? Received? In response, she received a big wave addressed to her. Ahem, Kakashi, who came out of his hiding place, attracted the attention of the already wet couple. Excuse me, please, but Naruto, it's time for us to hit the road. Were you following me? Naruto asked angrily. We were looking for you and found you here, answered Sasuke, who had now come out of his hiding place. Others did the same. Naruto, who is this girl and who is this brother? Sakura asked. It does not concern you. And you're looking for a fight, Uzumaki said with rage. That's it, we'll wait for you by the road, Kakashi said and walked away with the others. A couple of minutes later Naruto approached them and they silently set off. Halfway through the entire journey, Sakura could not stand it and asked. Naruto, what kind of girl was with you? Naruto wanted to shut her up, but Kurama stopped him. I think you can tell them about me. Are you sure? Fully. Let them know that they are not so safe. Then don't catch their eye, otherwise they'll faint. Her name is Kyubi no Yoku, he answered Sakura. Bad joke Naruto, Kakashi commented. What makes you think that I'm joking? Naruto answered with a grin. This made everyone shudder. If you want, I can introduce her to you. It's better to keep it in print, Kakashi said, seeing the flashbacks. Oh, I didn't tell you. What? Everyone asked in unison. The seal is gone, he pointed to his torso. But how? You should have died from this, Kakashi asked with fear. And this is my little secret. Naruto smiled shyly. I see. She turned your head, the ashen-haired man concluded. Stupid, very stupid. I guess I won't continue further, otherwise my ears will collapse. You won't understand anyway, Naruto said with noticeable disgust. I always do this, I talk about the fact that my ears fold into tubes when I don't want to listen to some garbage. Yes, I'll put her under genjutsu. Sasuke said arrogantly. Uchiha. Kurama hissed like a snake. KKQB, everyone said with a huge trembling. Q, I asked you. Naruto said sadly. Now you see, they're going to shit themselves right now. Sorry, but you know my dislike for Uchihas, especially this one. Let's kill him, and then the two remaining ones in the world's evil will disappear, Kurama said in the end. So, stop scaring them, otherwise they will die of a heart attack. And you, Sasuke, if you try to subjugate her, I promise you personal hell. Still, Naruto did not forgive him. Well, Naru, he tried to say, how? Well, quickly put it in your pocket, Naruto said and shoved the fox back into his pocket so that only its face and ears were visible. Now the Konokovites don't even know what's going on here. Their idea of a terrible and evil Kyuubi did not fit with a Kyuubi that was friends with a person or generally loved. What happened to you, Naruto? Kakashi thought. After all, if you think about it, the Bijou does not behave aggressively when he is near the blonde. This was an interesting proposal and it needs to be tested somehow. After 3 long years, Naruto returned to his home village. Hello Izumo, Kotetsu, said teams number 7 and 8. Hello, who's with you? Kotetsu asked. This is Naruto, Kakashi said after a moment's hesitation. Well, hello, Naruto said with a grin, which scared the guards. General Kenobi, and Naruto? You were gone for a long time. Why did you come? Izumo was already speaking. I'm going to the Hokage, said the blonde, who missed Izumo's question through his ears and walked towards the residence. Konoha has not changed much, the same houses, stalls, Tsunade's face appeared on the mountain, ordinary people go about their business, shinobi, every now and then jumping on the roofs. And here is the residence. A couple of minutes later they entered the office and the teams reported on the mission to rescue the Kazekage. Naruto, is that you? Said Tsunade, who learned about him after telling the commands. She came out from behind her desk and hugged him. You can't even imagine how Jiraiya and I cried after your death. Naruto perceived everything ambiguously. The village has done a lot of bad things, but there is also at least some good in it. Kurama did not dare to get involved in his relationship with the house and simply watched everything from his pocket. Grandma Tsunade, why didn't you and Jiraiya help me when I was a child? You're my godparents, asked the blonde. They didn't let us into the village, much less let us adopt you. Forgive us. I forgive you, Naruto said with a smile. He was glad to hear that his only relatives did not abandon him, but simply could not approach him. Okay, we will help you with Akatsuki, but your old friends will want to talk to you. Therefore, we will help you if you answer our questions, Tsunade retreated. Okay, but not today, but tomorrow you'll ask questions, and I'll explain the plan to you. Be there. The blonde man left and went to the hotel. Naruto was now walking to one of the old training grounds, training ground number 7. He and Kurama woke up reluctantly, because he was too lazy to meet with old acquaintances, but nothing could be done. He walked along empty roads, and a 9-tailed fox, waist-high Jinchuriki, calmly walked next to him. Going to the training ground, he saw all his old friends from graduation and others. Seeing the fox, they began to get a little nervous, but calmed down when the blonde sat down opposite them and laid the fox on his lap. As I understand it, you won't leave me alone that easily? Uzumaki asked, stroking Kurama. The answer was nods from the shinobi. Naruto, how did you survive? I saw that you wouldn't live long. He began to ask questions to Hatake. Unlike you, Kyuubi saved me, he answered. I'm sorry, Kakashi wanted to apologize. You could have given me first aid, moron. You were an ANBU, which means you know basic medical techniques, the blonde interrupted him. Why didn't you come back? Asked Hinata. Konoha consists almost entirely of rotten people who hate me. That's why I didn't go back to places where I didn't like it. Uzumaki said, stroking Kurama, who was purring loudly. And the rest were shocked by Kyubi's behavior. The blonde was already beginning to pray for these questions to end. But the questions continued for about another hour, until Naruto was bombarded. That's enough, let's move on to the plan. What are we dealing with? Asked Tsunade. The most dangerous of all are Pain and Tobi or even Madara. Pain has a Rinnegan. Tobi has a Manjikyu Sharingan. After Haiden and Kakuzu, they are immortal, but they must have weaknesses. Kisame is a tailless bijou. If you take away his Samahata, he is not so dangerous. Zetsu is a mysterious guy, I don't know anything about him. Deidara is a terrorist, weak against lightning. Tested in practice. Itachi has a Mangekyo, his abilities have long been known to you. This is what I managed to find out. And where did you get such information? Asked the Slug Princess, knowing that at least some information about Akatsuki could not be obtained so easily. I'll omit these details. Let's continue. Most likely they caught other than one-tailed and two-tailed ones. I know where the three-tails are. If we manage to save him, then Akatsuki's plan will collapse. Then I give you everyone who is here for this mission, said Tsunade, knowing that the Akatsuki are not that weak. Great, we'll head out tomorrow, Naruto said. A team gathered at the village gates to protect the three tails from Akatsuki. Well, is everyone here? Naruto asked. Yes, all. The path promises to be long. Kakashi answered the question. What makes you think that we will go on foot? Kyubi will carry us. The blonde smiled and a small fox crawled out of his pocket. She moved a sufficient distance from the village and increased in size. Now Kurama was larger than Mount Hokage. Naruto walked up to the huge black nose and stroked it. In response, a warm breeze rushed towards him, which was even felt in the village. After much debate about the safety of this transport, otherwise it would be eaten and not noticed, as Kakashi said, our squad, so to speak, set off with the breeze towards the goal. Kurama would run as fast as he could, but then the passengers would simply fly away. Knows where. But Naruto did not dare to do such a stupid act as turning into a nine-tailed fox, because it would be better if it remained a secret and no one knew his trump card. On this trip, Kakashi was finally convinced that if they had a blonde guy with them, who didn't let the fox destroy everything and everyone, then they had nothing to fear, probably. They arrived at the place in the evening, but were in no hurry, because the lake where the three-tailed man sits is stormy. Mother, don't worry. So they set up camp for the night. And everything seems to promise to be good, but bad luck, our heroes don't know what kind of fox awaits them. In the morning they went to the lake. Arriving at the shore, they saw a quiet, calm lake, covered with fog. But there was no time to enjoy, and Kurama began to emit large streams of chakra to attract the attention of the three tails, who sits and sleeps at the bottom of the lake. Feeling his older sister's chakra, he floated to the surface and dispelled all the fog with his tails. And the three-tailed bijou, Isabu, appeared in front of the squad in all its glory. He already knew the whole plan, because the bijou has a special communication channel. Therefore, there was a meeting of all bijou there. Unfortunately, only Isabu and Kurama came there. Naruto hasn't heard about this at all. Shikaku and Matatabi are sealed, and the rest are either asleep or busy saving their ass and the Jinchuriki's ass from the same Akatsuki. Well, Isabu, let's go, Naruto said and was about to approach him, when he felt the earth cracking, even cracking. A little more and cracks will appear. And a voice was heard like thunder from a clear sky. Art is an explosion. So too Akatsuki came. As you understand, this is Deidara, and the second is Tobi. And in addition, Orochimaru came to the holiday with his charges, who did not refuse to get his hands on the bijou. And it began, explosions occurred throughout the area, huge crystals appeared everywhere. Guy and Lee ran around like crazy, making everyone's faces left and right. Technicians fly here and there. And only Naruto, holding Kurama and Aisabu in his hands, looked at this chaos and anarchy. He was about to leave when Toby blocked his way. "Aye, do you want to leave the party already?" the masked man asked faintly. The blonde understood that he knew almost nothing about his abilities. The most that was known was the Mangekyo. Hiding his tailed friends in his pockets, aware of the ability to subdue, Naruto attacked Toby with a bladed weapon, but stopped, seeing the futility of his actions. "So we'll be unstoppable for a while, thanks to the Mangekyo," Naruto concluded. Thanks to his sensor abilities and observations, he realized that the odds were not in his favor. Even if you shoot techniques at the level of Bijou destruction, the enemy will remain intact when you yourself spend the chakra breakthrough. And the rest will not come to the rescue soon, if at all. The Sharinganist pressed the blonde hard, appearing here and there, becoming intangible, which ultimately led to the blonde's defeat. Toby wanted to use Kamui to make a hole in Naruto. He barely dodged, but it was a trick. The hidden clone came out of hiding and grabbed Aisabu by the tails. He snatched him out of his pocket. Looking into his eye, the Mangekyo subjugated, the three-tailed, him. Now the three-tailed Bijou is on Akatsuki's side. Realizing that now there was no need for them to save Isoba, Naruto ran after the Konoha men, because the three-tailed man began to create a tailed bomb. Yes, you can try to remove control, but when your enemy is unstoppable and does not stand still, and a Hulk is trying to kill you, there is almost nothing you can do alone, even with the 9 tails. And if she is subdued, then good for nothing. "Get down," the blonde shouted, feeling the heat behind his back. Hearing him, everyone looked in the direction from where he was running. And seeing a huge Bijou who was going to shoot a bomb the size of a village at them, they ran away in all directions. Explosion. "Let's fuck Yuriki." "That's it," Naruto ran to us, taking his comrades with him as clones. But the blonde didn't go wrong, because now Deidara's bombs and hundreds of small Bijou bombs, which were only the size of a person, are flying at them. Auric also did not lag behind. Sensing that this matter was beginning to smell like something was fried, he gathered the remaining subordinates and went to run away. Kurama tried to get out of the pocket all the time, but Naruto did not allow her to do this. As a result, with the help of a dream seal, the fox was sent to the world of Morpheus. Let's continue about the escape. The shelling continued until everyone disappeared over the horizon. Toby, with the help of Kamui, sent the three tails to his dimension and flew with Deidara to the ceiling shelter. The squad from Konoha and Naruto settled down in the village and healed their wounds. But for Naruto in the evening it will not be the easiest task, to talk to Kurama about today's failure. Kurama woke up and saw that she was in the room with Naruto. Turning into a girl, she cried and said, Why did you Naruto stop me?" A girl with red hair with fox attributes flew at him. "If I hadn't stopped you, he would have subdued you too," the blonde tried to calm her down. "Listen to me, we should have at least tried to save brother Aisabu. And you fool immediately ran away. I was about to hit him. Listen to this. I alone had to fight against your brother from Akatsuki. And you wouldn't help in any way. I would rather lose you. I'm sorry for not trying to understand how hard it was for you. Forgive me for not being able to save your brothers. I am a weakling." Naruto switched from a scream to a whisper. "You're not a weakling, but you're such a fool. Forgive me, I'm also wrong," Kurama said and, hugging the blonde, began to sob into his shoulder. After all, sealed in the statue of Gedamezo, the Bijou seem to be in a torture chamber. There they feel terrible, unbearable pain. Kurama should help them as an older sister, but she can't do anything against Akatsuki, even with her loved one, or Bijou, who is even stronger than her in some aspects. Hugging back, Naruto stroked her silky, fiery red hair, tails of the same color. scratched behind the ears, thereby calming the girl. Meanwhile, the rest of the squad members were in the next room. Hearing swearing behind the wall, they became interested in what was happening there. Having made holes in the walls, which seemed to be made of cardboard, and disguised themselves, they saw and heard the entire conversation of the couple, and continued to do so brazenly. Why can't they leave us Bijou alone? We didn't do anything to these people, of course we ate them, but it was very rare. We just slept and didn't bother anyone. Everything was fine until this Uchiha Madara came and ruined our lives. By subduing me, he showed people that we could be used as weapons. And then hundreds of years of imprisonment. Even little sister Matatabi was not left alone, and she was always against violence. But I'm glad that I met you, the one who understood our torment and loved me for who I am, Kyubi whined. And the uncultured people who were spying on them were shocked to hear this. Don't cry, Kurama. I will definitely do everything in my power to ensure that you are accepted, the blonde said, wiping tears from the girl's face. But, Naru. Understand, there are so many vile people in the world, especially in Konoha. Their Danzo and his root are made to puke by their actions, morals and goals. They believe that people are weapons. Why should they care about our opinion? I'll think of something about this, but for now you get some sleep. Naruto laid Kurama on the bed. He wanted to leave the room when the girl grabbed him and pressed herself against him. Only with you, she said, and fell into sleep. The blonde, who did not give up sleep after a hard day, also fell into the kingdom of Morpheus. When everyone felt more or less well, the squad went back to Konoha. All the time on the way, Naruto thought about what to do next. In the end, he decided that since they had missed the three-tailed man, he no longer needed the help of the village. The location of the remaining Jinchuriki is unknown. And now the Akatsuki danger is growing into a global one, which means villages are uniting to destroy them. Meanwhile, when his comrades are in the hospital, it will perform the Operation Y, i.e. will kill the elders, Danzo with Root and some of the people who harmed him the most, and then run away. They came to the village in the evening. Tsunade, having learned about the condition of her subordinates, immediately sent her to the hospital. Waiting until nightfall, Naruto created a dozen clones that fled in all directions. Naruto could slaughter all of Konoha, but he still needs it against Akatsuki, so the clones will deal with the elders who ruined his life, the ordinary residents and the people who bullied him the most. And he himself, the original, will suit Danzo's soul. Having reached the root base, having found a secret door, he kicked it down with such force that it slammed into the wall. All the ANBU present froze in place. No one expected that someone would walk into their shelter. Naruto looked at them with eyes full of bloodlust, and took out his axes and began to chop everyone from right to left. Cutting a path to Danzo, Naruto filled the corridors with corpses, severed limbs, all sorts of organs and blood. Meanwhile, his clones did their job and dispersed. And so the last root was killed, only Danzo remained. A newly created clone entered his office. But he was immobilized by a trap. Well, what about the nine-tailed Jinchuriki? Now you are mine. The old man wanted to touch the blonde, but he disappeared in the haze. Danzo realized that he had been deceived. Naruto flew into the office and blew his head off with an axe. The lifeless body of the elder fell. And it seems like a victory, but now Danzo stands in front of Naruto, safe and sound. His eyes did not escape the moment when one of the Sharingans on his hand closed. There was an explosion, and the battle continued in the open air. Danzo, covering throwing weapons with futon, the element of wind, thereby sharpening them, launched them at Naruto. He was not taken aback by the unexpected return of the dead man and, with the help of a katon, element of fire, reinforced by a futon, he sent the iron, i.e., a throwing weapon, back to its owner in an enhanced state. These actions started a fire in the forest in which the base was located. Naruto took advantage of this and did not allow the advisor to leave the epicenter, after 10 minutes he was suffocated and burned alive. But he appeared again and it felt like nothing had happened before. The blonde was finally convinced of his assumption, which he shared with Kurama, as he said, "One life is equal to one Sharingan. Naruto, I have a solution to this problem. Place a seal that suppresses chakra, although it will be fragile, but you will have enough time to destroy several Sharingans." Kyubi told her plan. "Thanks for the idea, but don't come out of hiding. I'm sure this old brat hid something." Naruto thanked her. Having caught a good moment, he put a seal and was barely able to cut off 3 Sharingans tangentially, leaving 2 more to go. You may ask why he didn't just cut off his hand, but because Danzo was very evasive, only Auric was better than him. Having regained control of his chakra, the elder summoned an elephant-like animal whose name was Baku. The call immediately began to suck everything in with its trunk. Having created a Bija bomb, Naruto sent it to the animal. After a couple of seconds, only scraps of meat remained from the call. Danzo was in shock, so he did not notice how a clone approached, put a seal and cut off the remaining eyes. The advisor decided to blow himself up with the blonde. But when he saw what the old man was doing, he immediately began to run in the opposite direction. Explosion and Danzo is no more. Team number 7 was sent home in the evening, because they were not as badly injured as the others, so they were released early when the rest were discharged the next day. Sai sensed strange activity in the part of the village. After thinking a little, the team went to that part. Approaching a close distance, Sai suddenly said, "Danzo is no more." "What makes you think?" Kakashi asked. "The seal is gone, we are in the area of the root. Do you understand what I mean?" And then the hero of this triumph landed in front of them. "Naruto, did you do this?" Kakashi asked, although he saw the shabby blonde in front of him. "No." "What makes you think?" The blonde joked at them and at the same time thinking about how to get out of here. "It was you. It's clear from your appearance. And we also heard everything that evening, especially about the fact that you will deal with Danzo." Sakura shouted. She did not understand how he could now simply kill people, when before it was the other way around. From what was said, the rest of the team's eyes began to pop out of their sockets, even Sai's. Sakura remained such a stupid girl. 2 pairs of predatory eyes glowing in the dark looked at the team. They radiated complete hatred. "You are interfering in my life once again," said the blonde, creating a Bija bomb. Realizing that they would now be a complete fox, the Konokovites ran to the village. Naruto sent a very weak bomb in their direction, he still needed them. Turning around, he ran wherever his eyes looked. A couple of weeks have passed since that day. Tsunade still doesn't fully understand why Naruto killed dozens of people. The elders are something else, they have been trying to kill them for a century. But here are the rest. Meanwhile, Naruto ran around. Knows how many square kilometers, but it was not possible to find anyone from Akatsuki. It's as if they come, hit the Jinchuriki in the face and throw him off into nowhere. But it seems the gods took pity on him, because 3 from Akatsuki went to the fire temple to get part of the Nine Tails chakra from the pseudo-Jinchuriki. Why 3? Well, Deidara joined Kakuzu and Haiden for the fun. Naruto approached the fire temple right on time. Instead of the temple there are ruins, corpses and organs are lying everywhere, and in the middle of this mess there are 3 morons, 3 cheerful friends, so jokes aside, there are 3 Akatsuki, on the shoulder of 1, Haiden, the grief of the Jinchuriki is spread out. 3 against 1 is not entirely fair. But there is another way out, to kill the Jinchuriki. This way it will not fall into the hands of enemies and there will be less hassle. Naruto was not sorry to kill him, he does not know anything about him, he is not familiar with him and this does not prevent his conscience from committing a sin. The blonde took out a kunai from his pouch and threw the kunai at supersonic speed, a second and the head of the pseudo-Jinchuriki shattered into atoms. Who did it? Come out, bitch, I'll bury you, you complete bastard. Haiden shouted to the whole world. I doubt I can parody Haiden's speech. Hey, be quiet, Naruto said, lounging on his side. Who else are you? Asked Kakuzu. Grandfather Fur, the blonde answered him and took Deidara's head off his shoulders. I'll serve you bitch Jashnu on a platter right now, Haiden waved his scythe. Is this your back scratcher? And the blonde one? Naruto asked jokingly. Oh my, this is a sacrificial scythe, with the help of which I will sacrifice you. Haiden shouted like a madman, or rather he is a madman. Naruto, Kurama said quietly. What? Naruto asked. I've met these types before. This blonde must be split into atoms, otherwise he won't be killed, and most importantly, don't fall under his attacks. The second one has 5 hearts, destroy them and he will die. The fox said from her pocket. Thank you. The blonde stroked her and focused on the enemy. Kakuzu, don't bother me, said the blonde man and went to attack Uzumaki. I didn't want to. Kakuzu responded and stepped aside. Haiden ran at Naruto, swinging his scythe in all directions. Dodging the attacks, Naruto thought about the strength of his opponent. But he's immortal, so what? His attacks are bonal, he doesn't even know bonal techniques. Put him with a couple of experienced jounin, he'll lose. Well, if he needs to be split into atoms, then it needs to be done beautifully. After another direct attack, the blonde jumped onto the beam and stopped. Well, have you given up? Haiden asked. I don't want to repeat your comrade, so. Alabar. Naruto shouted, his hand began to be covered with clots of blue energy that took the shape of fox heads. Once formed, they flew towards the blonde cultist with great speed and exploded. And that's all? The Immortal asked again, emerging from the smoke that appeared from the explosion. He was a little toasted and wounded in some places. But in response he received only more of these missiles. When one batch ends, another comes. And so on for half an hour until Haiden was destroyed. Yes, I know. I merged 2 Akatsuki members, but Deidara is not the strongest compared to the same Sasori, even though he was killed first, but Deidara left when things started to get hot, and Haiden, as you remember in the canon, buried him with a trap Shikamaru. Kakuzu was already trying to get out of harm's way, but Naruto stopped him. Where are you going? He asked. Kakuzu did not answer, but simply released all his hearts, which began to destroy the entire area with his techniques. But Naruto managed to escape the attacks. Kurama, you didn't say that his hearts can walk on their own and shoot techniques from right to left. How should I know? I only heard about him a couple of 100 years ago. The fox was offended. Come on, I'm sorry, the blonde apologized. Naruto emerged from his hiding place, creating several clones, and began to attack Kakuzu from all sides. He was not taken aback and immediately blocked all the attacks and attacked in response with a combined technique of 3 hearts. What? Can he also combine techniques? Naruto was surprised. Realizing that he could even lose in spontaneous techniques, the blonde decided to use physical force. And what? He has all 5 elements that can be used independently of each other, when Naruto only has 3 and then dependent ones. Having created 100 clones, he imbued the kunai with his chakra and threw them into the hearts of Kakuzu. They created protective techniques, but they did not protect them and 1 heart was destroyed. When the smoke cleared, the duelists saw hearts turned into sieve. Here Kakuzu was now taken aback by the blonde's strength. Because only Tsunade Senju, who had a light hand, could make such holes. But his prostration was destroyed by the destruction of 3 hearts. Naruto turned in his direction, and there was no trace of him. Well, stop. Stop who I'm telling. Give me the lard, the blonde shouted. Kiss my ass. You've already destroyed 4 of my hearts. Get the fuck off me. Kakuzu shouted back until Naruto's hand pierced him. It's good that they underestimated me. Otherwise I couldn't have done it so easily alone. You have me, Kurama reminded herself. You still need to show yourself less. Okay, I heard there's going to be a Kage meeting. P.S. Hello everyone, forgive me for such a low-quality part. To be honest, I'm not very good at combat, so. If you look at past fanfictions, I didn't write about the Fourth Shinobi World War. And I feel that I will sit on the parts with the war for a long time. But I'll tell you right away that I will try to write in the style of the last part with the three tales. Along a snow-covered road to one of the cities of the country of Iron there was a cart on which our heroes settled down, having paid the cabman. It's cold, will we arrive soon? Kurama said. It's still about an hour away, Naruto answered her. At this rate, we'll definitely freeze here. Kurama didn't like snow and cold, but what she doesn't like more than snow is rain and dampness. Yes, the cold has given in to you, you are a demon of fire. Very funny. And who told me that everything in this endeavor is in human form at the time? Allegedly, the villager and the samurai will be scared to death of the little nine-tailed fox. Okay. What do you want from me? Naruto gave up. So that you warm me. Kurama hugged him. It's cold, the blonde said, hugging the girl back. By evening they found themselves in the city. Having bought a hotel room, the two were finally able to rest peacefully. Kurama, Naruto said while drinking tea. What? Asked Kyubi, who was lying on the bed. We will have to stay here for a few days. Why? Exclaimed the nine-tailed one. Well. Due to the large amount of precipitation this week, avalanches began. Because of this, part of the Kage cannot really enter the country. Why did the gods treat me this way? She pressed her face into the pillow. Winter reminded her of the not best years of her life. One day, Kurama passed by a city that was located on the territory of the future country of Iron. There she met a strange man, as it later turned out he was Nikeninov, who had escaped from the village. That man, seeing a huge fox, attacked it. He would have been like a midge to her, if not for a special artifact, the sword, with the help of which the Nine-Tails was caught. Research experiments and other terrible things were carried out on her until she escaped, because the sword could not cope with her strength, and killed her captor, who was Alya. How do you like Orochimaru, huh? After those hellish weeks, Kurama became completely disillusioned with people and began to hate them. If the Hokage took Kakashi as his guard, then I will devour him and fuck him. I won't allow him to peek anymore, the fox said angrily. Calm down, we will have to meet with Tsunade tomorrow. She stopped here too. Naruto finished his tea. The next day, having dressed warmly, they went to look for a hotel where the Hokage, Tsunade, was supposed to stay. As they walked, the city became more and more covered with snow. Having found that very hotel, he climbed the wall and entered the room through the balcony. There, Tsunade was sitting on the couch, talking to Shizuna, who was holding Tun-Tun. You weren't in a hurry, she said. Tsunade learned about Naruto with the help of sensors, just as Naruto himself learned about her in this way, passing by this hotel in Sera. And you don't seem to want to kill me, Naruto said calmly. Yes, I'll arrange a funeral for you right now. Okay, I killed the elders. But why kill ordinary civilians? Tsunade ran after him around the room. This continued until Naruto explained everything, thereby calming the kunoichi. So you just want to come to the Kage Council and make a proposal for an alliance so that if you win, you can free the bijou? You still remain a fool. Calm down, Grandma Tsunade, calm down. I'll succeed, the blonde assured her. Naruto, Tsunade said. What? I have to tell you something. So what? Asked the blonde. Naruto. Jiraiya is dead, pain killed him, Tsunade said, crying. Upon hearing the news, Naruto sat down on the couch as tears began to well up in his eyes. Although the toad pisser was still a pervert, he himself was a good person and teacher. It's a pity that I couldn't meet him, at least talk to him one more time. In the large hall sat all 5 Kage and the head of the samurai, who were sorting out the relationship, who was to blame, how many Jinchuriki were left. And Naruto listens from above on the beam with Kurama and is amazed by them. I thought that the Kage were adequate people, but it seems that this is not so. Who am I kidding? This is definitely the Kage. Okay, Tsunade is a drunk, but he's slowly improving, but others don't care. This tanned closet would rather start a war over trifles than have a calm conversation with someone. And what? Just look at him, who chose him as Kage? Didn't they have any other candidates? Let's move on to the next one. Well, this is funny, there's an old guy sitting at the village post. Maybe he was once very strong, but now if you lightly hit him on the back, he will immediately be knocked out. Now, what's her name, exactly Mizukage? Well, this is generally nonsense, they imprisoned this pervert, yes, a pervert, you should have looked at the way she looks at young and strong guys. Well, this can be forgiven for the country, there was complete anarchy there during the revolution. Gaara. I just have one question. What idiot decided to appoint a psychopath, maniac, etc. to the position of Kage? Of course, he may have improved, but all the same, his subordinates were unlikely to trust him. And now about the meeting place. This is a complete fox, I just easily passed by all the samurai. Are they kidding me? They have almost the biggest big shots in the whole world in one place, and they put samurai in their defense, whom it costs the jonins nothing to kill. Naruto in childhood, and to this day, thought that Kage were very serious and disciplined people. Kurama did not lag behind him, she saw with her own eyes only the first Hokage and that's all. There were only rumors about the rest. But Naruto stopped being indignant, he still needs to persuade all the Kage to unite and achieve the freedom of the Bijou. Tsunade will help him with this, who will introduce him, but it will not be as soon as he would like. In general, while waiting for the Kage meeting and in general during the entire time after the murder of the elders, 2 very significant events occurred in the world. The first is the murder of Orochimaru, which was done by Kabuto. This was not expected. Well, and also the hero of the occasion, that is, Kabuto went to Akatsuki. Second, Sasuke killed Itachi and received an eternal Mangekyo. And now the question is brewing, has the balance of power on the Akatsuki side fallen or risen? Well, hello 5 Kage, said the false Madara who appeared. Who else are you? Asked the tanned wardrobe. I am Madara and I demand that all the remaining Bijou be given back. The 8-tailed Jinchuriki could not catch him and he remained in the village, and did not shit here and there. You, not the Bijou. Naruto said, hitting the blind spot, thereby putting one seal. Then I declare the 4th Shinobi World War. I'll give you a couple of months to prepare, said the masked man and disappeared into the funnel. I would like to introduce to you, Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, the 9-tailed Jinchuriki. Naruto sat in the shade of a tree, which protected him from the scorching sun. This week was very difficult, especially on the day of the meeting. When he was introduced to Tsunade, he almost had to formulate a plan to take over the entire universe. He either had to constantly reassure Raigage so that he would not destroy everything and everyone from his demands, then he had to turn off the Mizukage, who wanted to seduce the poor blonde. From this, Kurama emitted such a terrible ki that even all the dead Kages turned over in their graves. On the one hand, the resulting aura did not put little pressure on the Kages, who were becoming easier and easier to persuade with each passing minute. On the other hand, Naruto had to hold his beloved, otherwise the Eton rulers were unlikely to help him. He also had to please the fucking brat and avoid questions from the Kazekage like, where were you, why didn't you come back, etc. He eventually persuaded them, spending a whole day in the process. After the meeting, Naruto ran in search of Tobi in the Akatsuki base, because it was not for nothing that he put a tracking stamp. But fate had other plans. During his escape, Toby touched a branch, thereby leaving a piece of fabric with a seal on it. "Damn, your mother," he shouted in anger. "Oh, there's a hole here," Toby said playfully, looking at the hole in the cloak. That day, Kurama's fur stood on end from Naruto's anger. This had never happened before. But it was possible to understand the blonde, because, knowing the location of the base, you can find out their tactics in the war. Which would ultimately lead to an easy war with fewer losses. But it's not given. And now he is back in Konoha, carrying out orders from the Hokage, either to check the shinobi for readiness for war, or to clean the archive. In short, tedious work awaited the blonde here as punishment. It's better to work than to run forever from shinobi. As a child, he dreamed of becoming Hokage so that everyone would recognize him, but now he no longer needs this. And sitting in one place forever and working with papers is such a prospect. On the other hand, if he is a big shot in the world, then the bijou will have less time and effort to gain freedom. But Naruto's thoughts and Kurama's sleep were stopped by the one whom he least wanted to see now. "Well, get up, you still have work to do. War is coming." Naruto stood on a hill from where the site of the future massacre was clearly visible. Next to him were soldiers from one of the village army units. The location of the troops was as in canon. "And yet, it would be better for me to enter the war from the very beginning, so at least there will be fewer losses," Kurama said in her pocket. "Yeah, and so that you crush everyone with your carcass. You will enter the battle when a bijou under control appears on the horizon, if they exist, of course." Naruto stated the fact. "You mean that I'm fat?" she said irritably. No, you're my most beautiful. As they say, it's more expensive to anger the fox." "Okay. Look, someone is coming there," said the brightest of the shinobi. Indeed, an army of white zetsu was marching towards them. "It looks like they are made of Hashirama cells and plants," said the fox, feeling a huge amount of chakra lights, similar to the one that the first Hokage had. She will never forget him. "Are you saying that they are all just vegetables with the genome of a tree? Well, what a sight for sore eyes. I hope that their intelligence remained at the level of vegetables." The blonde was delighted. Kurama was about to answer something when the deafening sounds of war filled the entire area. "Looks like Papa Carlo overdid it. Well, it's okay now, let's cut off Pinocchio's noses," Naruto said, seeing all the remaining zetsu. He picked up axes and went to chop everything and everyone, then sending a bijou bomb into another pile of opponents, who, along with pieces of earth, scattered like ninepins. So he sent a fireball into the wind technique of one of the shinobi, aimed at a huge number of vegetables, thereby strengthening it so that all living things from the vegetable class, along with the rest of the organic matter, turned into ashes. And this was the case on all fronts, because Naruto sent clones to all parts of the army. "Kurama, I'm already tired of chopping them," Naruto said breathlessly, cutting somewhere around the 1,000th zetsu. "Well, what will I do to you?" He himself said, "You'll crush everyone with your carcass." "Okay, I noticed that they were all coming out of the ground. This means that a shinobi with the element of stone needs to smoke out the weeds from the ground. Then you have to move with great speed to kill everyone in one go. We use chakra fusion. Type of Kurama chakra mode, as in canon, but Naruto is no longer a Jinchuriki, so I came up with an alternative." Having communicated the plan to the shinobi, on command they used a technique that caused all the zetsu in the ground to fly out of it like bullets. Meanwhile, Naruto became covered with golden chakra, and with it, unusual tattoos. A couple of seconds passed and all the vegetables in the air were cut into small pieces. The blonde was already at the level of the Raikage in speed, and in the combining chakra mode he overtook Minato. But the regime required enormous concentration for two bijou. It's not easy for you to give chakra to a Jinchuriki and send him to 3 letters to fight the enemy. Therefore, the regime was immediately dispelled. Although the flow of white zetsu did not stop, it became much easier to fight on the fronts. The village alliance began to gain an advantage until the revived shinobi entered the field. Here the sealing units took the initiative, led, of course, by Naruto. Well, who else besides him can put bonal seals with one little toe of his left foot, huh? How do you like Elon Musk? Let's continue about the war. Of those revived, there were only Jounin-level shinobi, no more, until shinobi with different genomes appeared at the front. There were also those who received great glory during their lives. Well, the Kage of all villages, not counting Konoha, became the icing on the cake. While sealing the last swordsman of the mist with his friends from the release, Pain's 6 bodies appeared before Naruto. "It looks like the Akatsuki themselves came here," said the blonde. "Today, you will die, Uzumaki Naruto," one of the bodies told him. "First, catch up with me," he said and ran, thereby he began to take Pain away from the soldiers. Well, where is he, thought Pain. He was in the dark depths of the forest where Naruto had led him. The blonde himself decided to destroy one of the bodies, namely a body capable of reviving other bodies. "Thank you, Jiraiya," thanked his already dead mentor, who sent a message about Pain's strength, abilities, and bodies. Having found that body, Naruto created many clones that began to distract the attention of all the bodies while he slowly approached the target. Having reached it, he created a Rasengan, stuffing a couple of bijou bombs into it. The blow and the enemy's back was like a drill. A couple of seconds and pieces of one of Pain's bodies flew into the air like confetti. Pain stopped treating the blonde like a bug and became more serious with him. He used the call, from which a huge white cloud appeared, from which 3 huge carcasses with reningans and piercings emerged. "Okay, then it's time to even the chances," said the blonde, dodging the attacks. He put down the shadow cloning seals as his part of the battlefield was covered with the same white smoke, but only 3 clones of Kurama came out from there. Of course they were weak, because Naruto couldn't invest more of her chakra, otherwise the Sharingan bastard would come and seal the clones into the statue. From the clones of the 9 tails, the eyes of all Pain's bodies almost fell out of their sockets, and his summons are generally shaking. An order is an order, but you want to live and how you want. And then a bacchanalia ensued. Bijou bombs were flying in all directions. Naruto was running like a flash across the field, which used to be a forest. Somewhere Chubaku Tensei was gathering. As a result, Pain had his last body left. Naruto ran to attack him as he fell under the effects of Chubaku Tensei. "Naruto, launch a bijou bomb with the maximum amount of chaos chakra at it, the technology center where the black ball is," said Kurama. Naruto immediately did what she said. But Naruto won't like what such an action will lead to. "Aha, Kurama, what have we done?" the blonde shouted. He, along with Pain, with all the trees, stones and other pieces of the landscape, revolved around the orbit of Chubaku Tensei. "Come on, we won't die for you, we're immortal," she began to calm him down. "You tell this to my head and my stomach," said Naruto, feeling dizzy and gagging. Kurama did not stand aside and also began to feel the same symptoms. But this carousel did not stop, it spun more and more until it suddenly disappeared. Our heroes encountered Pain's last body and flew away. Knows where. "Oh, fuck, I almost broke my back," said the blonde. The rhino-eyed man's body was turned into a pancake under the weight of 2 bijou. And at the end of the tunnel sat Pain and Kannan. Next came Naruto therapy, and as a result, Pain, at the cost of his life, revived the shinobi killed nearby. Naruto took one Rinnegan and wanted to take the other, just as the second one took Tobi. Kannan wanted to stop him, but lost her head. "We'll meet again, Uzumaki Naruto." The Uchiha disappeared into the funnel. In another part of the front, a battle with the Kage took place according to the canon. Well, give or take, but that's another story. Which I won't tell. Another part of the front. And here he comes out of the coffin, the god of shinobi, Madara Uchiha. Damn, the chakra is running out, and you can only dream about sealing Madara. Naruto's clone was nervous. But he and the other shinobi were reassured by the appearance of the 5 Kage. And here we are, they said. Meanwhile, Madara chatted about this and that with Kabuto until the topic of the Rinnegan came up. So I already have it? Asked the Uchiha. Yes, I transplanted Hashirama's cells into you, the bespectacled man answered him. Then, he said and activated the Rinnegan. A meteorite flew towards the shinobi army, but it was stopped by Gaara along with the cartilage we know. How do you like the second one? Madara asked with a crazy smile, and now the second meteorite fit on the first one like scoops of ice cream. My back, said Katabik, and began to fall to the ground, and with it the meteorites. Well, I knew that this would happen someday. Naruto made a hand-face gesture. But he didn't just stand still, but ran to crush meteorites. As a result, he minimized losses in the ranks of ordinary warriors, but now we definitely don't have enough chakra to seal the Uchiha Ichihu. Kurama was angry. We may not seal it, but, said the blonde and began to whisper something in the fox's ear. Madara. I'll have you bonfired right now. Kurama growled in human form with fox attributes, dressed in shinobi clothes. The clothes were similar to Konoha's, but it was without a protector, a jounin vest and other distinctive signs of the villages. KKQB? Madara was surprised and wanted to subdue the 9 tails, but nothing happened. He began to fold the seals, as soon as there were a couple of seals. Why can't I move? He asked. Yes, and for a couple of hours you will still feel pain, and your regeneration will be slowed down. After all, Uzumaki technology is the best in the world. Said the fox and swung it and hit the Uchiha in the groin with all available force, adding mini Biju bombs. Improved technique of the Millennium of Pain, RPG Uchiha, said Naruto and sent Madara flying to hell. After that, the clones disappeared, leaving only a white haze. Meanwhile, the real Naruto sat in the camp and waited for the Rinnegan to take root. Your new dojutsu will soon take root, so I must teach you how to use these eyes. It's not just that I asked my father about everything. So, you will only have 3 abilities out of 6, but I don't know which ones. I hope they will be useful in battle. And now the author will try to explain to you, why didn't the main characters seal Madara? 1. It will be boring. 2. Sealing the shinobi god is not so easy, and the clones, which will soon disperse, will only delay him. Are you all happy? Your author, lazy ass, deigned to at least explain something. And most importantly, Itachi and Sasuke dispelled the resurrection technique. But since there will be less and less canon in the future, it is necessary to explain one moment that happened before the dispelling. A large-scale battle was taking place off the coast. Ino Shikocho fight Asuma. But the Naruto clone from the Cloud Shinobi had a battle with Genkaku and Kinkaku, and the battle seemed to go on as usual, until Kurama, in the middle of the battle, told Naruto something that would not have been better. Naruto. These 2 easily have enough of my chakra to awaken the 10 tails. Although he will be weak, he is still the strongest Biju. By this time, the Cloud Shinobi, as canon, sealed 2 pseudo-Jinchuriki into an artifact. Well, into this barrel of honey. Calm down, Kurama. We sealed it, the blonde wanted to reassure her, but Obito came. Bonjour, he said and ran for a barrel of honey. Naruto, of course, blocked his passage and did not let him in until Obito, with the help of Kamui, was at the barrel. And so he takes it in his hands, when black lightning strikes him and the barrel flies out a good 10 meters. Well, that's it, you got me, said Obito. Naruto and Kurama only now saw the Rinnegan in his eye. A statue of Getamaz appeared in front of everyone, who took the artifact with the false Madara and ran. Knows where, and even crushed a couple of dozen shinobi with clones of the blonde and the 9 tails. This is a fox, said Naruto. Yes. And Madara is still alive, Kurama was upset. That is? He broke the contract. The entire army was shaking in horror, even Naruto and Kurama were twitching nervously. They didn't even know what was worse, an uncontrollable monster capable of destroying the entire world, or the same monster, but already under the control of the shinobi god. Surrender, we have already defeated you, said Tobi. Well, no, Naruto answered him. Naruto, me and Gyuki won't be enough here, Kurama hinted to him. I know, the blonde said in a whisper and came out in front with the fox and Killer Bee. In a couple of seconds, Gyuki, Kurama and the golden fox, Naruto, appeared on the field. Everyone's eyes became 5 kopecks at the sight of 2 foxes with 9 tails. No one waited long and the 4 bijou began a large-scale battle. The trio was going to win in hand-to-hand combat, using their numerical advantage, but unfortunately, all their advantage was nullified by the power of the 10 tails. As he approached, he, the 10-tailed one, met them with his tails, which were not small in size, the size of the bijou themselves. All 3 bijou flew back from a strong uppercut and made craters with their carcasses. Having gathered, they moved into long-range combat, i.e. they began to shower the enemy with a hail of bijou bombs. When the dust and smoke from the explosion scattered, the living 10 tails appeared before everyone, only the tails were turned into a sieve, but they immediately began to heal. What would the 10 tails say if it could say, in general? Yes, I'll crush you like a spider with my slipper, Kurama freaked out and, tearing the nearest mountain out of the ground, threw it at the monster. The 2 Uchiha on the bijou were amazed by this. There was a roar, and waves of dust and dirt flew all over the place. And it seems that's it, they, the Uchihas with the 10 tails, won't do anything against the mountain. But, in the blink of an eye, the mountain shattered into pieces, and in the middle of the field stood the 10-tailed creature in humanoid form. My dear mother, said Sasuke, who came up along with Oric and the resurrected Kage. Sasuke, do you have a Mangekyo? Can you borrow Amaterasu for a couple of minutes? Naruto asked. Naruto, the Uchiha looked at the golden fox as the 7th wonder of the world, and the rest did not lag behind him. Son. Minato was surprised. There is no time for explanations now. Sasuke, drive away the black flames, the young bijou shouted, pointing to his right hand, which contained a bijou bomb with the maximum allowed amount of chaos chakra. The Uchiha trusted the fox and covered Amaterasu with his technique. And opponents looked at this with interest. Naruto, with the help of an improved Hiraishin, found himself in front of the 10 tails in a couple of seconds and sent a bijou into his single eye with his hand covered in a hellish mix. But this time Madara intervened, creating Susanna's armor of maximum strength, and in a second. The 10 tails looked at Naruto and said, I'll give it to you right now, hit him with all his strength. He flew into Kurama and Gyuki. White smoke appeared at the crash site, and after that one could see Killer Bee, Naruto and Kurama in human form. This is a fox, said the blonde, barely breathing. Listen, Shikaku's voice rang out in everyone's heads. Having analyzed the entire battle, I can say that all the actions of the 10 tails occur strictly according to the commands of those 2. This means that we need to throw them off the tailed one, and then we can divide it into parts, bijou, much easier. Well, how can we do this? Have you even seen the size of this monster? 3 bijou couldn't cope with him, but what are we going to do? Of course, I understand that the Nara are the smartest, but I don't understand your logic, the Raikage was indignant. This is of course true, but if you follow one tactic. Countless techniques flew at the 10 tails and the Uchihas from all sides. The tailed one sent a bijou bomb towards a huge pile of shinobi, but it was blocked by Kurama. The fire on the 10 tails did not stop, and attempts to attack the bijou were blocked by the main character and other allies of his size, Kurama, Killer Bee and Sasuke. Acting according to tactics, the army of shinobi began to push back the Ten Tails, and now, Naruto flies towards Madara with Tobi and has already swung at the masked man, and the shinobi god is almost sealed, as. In a couple of seconds, almost everything living and inanimate was pierced with wooden stakes. Naruto pulled out all the splinters, as did Kurama and Gyuki, and approached the victims. Among them, he found Tsunade, whose stomach was pierced with a stake. Naruto didn't even have time to do anything before the slug princess was already standing as if nothing had happened with her Byakugo turned on. I think it's spelled like this, correct me if I'm wrong. Naruto, I will heal everyone, but continue to fight without me, she said and, having cured everyone, fell asleep from overwork. Hey, what are you doing? Tobi, that is, Obito, screamed, because the mask flew off his face. It was half covered by black zetsu. Obito? Kakashi and Minato were surprised when they recognized him. Resurrection technique. He used the zetsu technique, and Obito's lifeless body flew down. Meanwhile, Madara glowed green, and then became the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Haha, you're late, he said, and the black pins pierced Naruto, Kurama and Sasuke without even having time to move. Eternal Tsukuyomi. Where am I? Naruto asked into the void. Again, we got into another ass, said Kurama, appearing from the pocket of his pants. Are we in the subconscious? The blonde asked, looking at the kitsune. It's unlikely, it's too empty here, and you're not a Jinchuriki anymore. But this emptiness doesn't look like a place of rebirth, she answered. But my daughter and son-in-law still came to visit. When is the wedding? Said. Father. Kurama screamed and attacked Hagoromo. Kurama, you'll crush him, the old man barely said. When the Biju reluctantly let him go, he moved on to an important conversation. Listen, you are still alive, but now you still can't go back to the war. Why is this? The Biju asked at the same time. I'll explain now. While you were traveling, a war broke out in other worlds. It quickly gained momentum that even the gods and their followers joined in. As a result, uniting with everyone, the gods destroyed a creature rather than a person who could destroy worlds. We won, but the consequences. Not the best. There was a similar situation before, but the scale of the consequences was smaller. During the war, they used all kinds of artifacts, weapons of mass destruction, living weapons, etc., and also when killing that creature, a lot of energy was released. Which ultimately led to changes in almost all worlds, some to a greater extent, some to a lesser extent, or new worlds appeared altogether. You are lucky, your world has been slightly changed. A stream of concentrated energy flew past you during the war. And the Ten Tails began to absorb it, from this its power grew faster and faster. But even being sealed, he invites her. When Kaguya is reborn, the Ten Tails will be able to gradually strengthen itself, without a source of energy. And my mother will be stronger than when I fought her. But the worst thing is until Mom reaches the limit of containing the power of the Ten Tails, and he himself cannot cope with such power, and then? What then? Kurama asked with fear. There will be an explosion and new flows of energy will appear, i.e. there will be a chain reaction. The worlds will begin to collapse and then the gods will no longer do anything. And how can we deal with it, and together? Sasuke died, and Killer B, in my opinion, is already passed out or in the eternal Tsukuyomi. The blonde was worried. Calm down, I will give you half the power, like Sasuke, and you must seal Kaguya and return the tailed creatures. Aren't you going to help us? Kurama asked. The gods put me in another sector, where I need to carefully get rid of the cloud of energy. And you need brute force, the gods sent one of the participants in the war to you. But I have time to train you in new strength. Meanwhile, in the real world, the resurrected Kage tried to stop Madara, but ended up pinned to the ground by black pins. What are you doing? Uchiha shouted at Zetsu. Yes, I'm reviving my mother, the little black one answered him. We spent a long time there, said Kurama. Look, Naruto picked up a rather familiar bandage. This is my old protector. Tsunade kept it with her after learning about your death, said Sasuke, who approached. It's time to kick things up a notch, said the blonde, putting on an old protector. By the way, he is without a chacrofox skin, because it got in the way, he sealed it. So now he just walks around with a bare torso. In short, Rambo. Hello, Babula. Kurama said nervously when he saw Kagaya, and Naruto turned on the new mode. He became covered with thin golden chakra, truth-seeking balls and fox attributes appeared behind his back. Naruto jumped on her and hit her in the face with all his might. She flew down, Sasuke caught her there and sent the goddess up, and Kurama delivered the final blow. But Kagaya didn't care about their antics. She stood up from the ground and took off, snapping her fingers. The whole area changed dramatically. Now, instead of a battlefield, they were together on what looked like a volcanic planet, in short, Mustafar. Naruto began to throw Chubaku Tensei, and Sasuke decided to set fire to the Amaterasu and so-built world. In defense and attack, Kagaya used her hair, which in terms of strength could give odds to many solid substances. Getting into a bijou stance, well, the classic, tails to face and make as many bombs as you want, Kurama began to create a huge bijou bomb while the two fought with the goddess. And now the bomb is ready, shot, explosion. After dispersing, Kagaya appeared to them with a brick face, and the bomb was rather large. But the Uzumaki and Uchiha did not miss the opportunity that turned up. Taking advantage of it, they almost sealed Otsutsuki. But again, Silk is a new world, and they fly in the opposite direction. And having knocked down Kurama, they crashed into a mountain of ice that fell on them. It's cold. Kurama said. Where is this help? Sasuke was indignant. You know, searching for you across the worlds is a difficult task, said the man who appeared from the portal. He was dressed in black clothes. He had gray hair and a scar on his right eye, the eyes themselves were blue, and he also did not have a right arm. And on the poise he had a sword, and this sword was very unusual. The blade of the sword was cut at an angle, but the strangest thing was that he had a strange eye on the guard, and the man in black that appeared looked very much like Naruto, especially with the 3 stripes on his cheeks. How will this disabled person help us? The Uchiha was surprised. You yourself are disabled, and we are war veterans. And if you don't like something, then we can calmly leave, said that same sword. Sorry to my comrade. He's a bit of an idiot. Naruto apologized. Wow, a talking sword, is this an artifact? Kurama asked, but did not receive an answer to her question. Okay. What kind of superwoman do you have there? Someone said. And as if at his request, the mountain of ice in which they were broken into 2 parts, and Kagaya appeared in a rather large gap. My mother is an anvil. What kind of Pokemon is this? The sword cursed. The explosion and our heroes are in the fresh air. Naruto found himself in the air and, having created 11 bijou bombs, flew towards the goddess. As they say, 2 hands are good, but 2 hands and 9 tails are even better. Sasuke immediately flew after the blonde with a Raikiri to his advantage. But Kagaya, launching bone spears at Uzumaki, nailed him to the ice wall, and Sasuke, intercepting his hand, sent him after Naruto. Having gathered new strength, Naruto and Sasuke attacked the goddess from the sides, and Kurama from above. Kagaya wanted to escape from the attack through the portal when she was cut into pieces by a stranger. She began to come together into a single whole, but it was too late, because hands with seals touched her. Black Zetsu wanted to get away, but Chubaku Tensei. Naruto threw the technique at the fugitive. The only thing left now is to bring the brothers back, said Kurama, having already returned to their world. The old man gave me instructions on how to print the bijou correctly, said the gray-haired man and began to play shaman over the seal. There was a bright flash, and all the bijou appeared on the field. Thank you. The bijou expressed their gratitude. Well, it's time for us, said the strange sword. Wait, if anything happens, you can contact us for help. And you didn't say your name, Naruto said. Well, my name is Grandfather Picto, and his name is Bobik. Grandfather Picto answered him. I'm sometimes amazed at his stupidity, Bobik muttered at the end, and the strange couple disappeared into the portal. Naruto! Sasuke said angrily. What do you want? Asked Naruto. You are interfering with my plans, so I will have to kill you, said the Uchiha, and all the bijou except Naruto were locked in mini-moons. Naruto, Kurama couldn't finish, as she was in a stone cage. Freak! You motherfucker, come here. Naruto got seriously angry. His gaze made Sasuke feel uneasy. The blow, and the Uchiha flew like a rocket into the valley of the end. The blow would have killed him if it had not been for Susanoo. Standing up, Sasuke went into defense, turning on his Susanoo at maximum level. The Uzumaki didn't have to wait long, and a golden fox flew into the chakra armor and began to beat him with such force that the Uchiha was shell-shocked worse than the tank men in the tank. Breaking away from the blows, Sasuke rose into the air, hoping for an advantage. But all his hopes were dashed by Naruto's levitation ability. As in canon, they began to exchange powerful techniques. Naruto used Chubaku Tensei to create a moon near him. Taking it, he began to spin it around his axis. Gaining sufficient speed, he threw it at the Uchiha. He, of course, relying on his own strength, began to shoot Susanoo arrows at her, but it brought nothing and an explosion occurred with a power comparable to the force of an atomic bomb. Naruto approached the site of the explosion. It was a huge crater, around which everything was incinerated, and in its center lay Sasuke. He remained almost unharmed. After all, Susanoo has good strength. Returning to human form, the golden fox approached the Uchiha and, taking him by the collar, cancelled the eternal Tsukuyomi. Kakashi and Sakura were the very first to lose sleep. The first immediately understood everything and, dragging his student along with him, went to the source of strong chakra. Meanwhile, Naruto's arms were free and he could do whatever he wanted with Sasuke. He sat him on his knees, bringing his arms in chains in different directions. What do you want to do? The Uchiha asked, waking up. Retribution for your sins awaits you, said the blonde and touched Sasuke's forehead with 2 fingers of his right hand. He suddenly began to yell, because all his chakra channels began to burn. It was especially painful in the eyes. What did you do? I deprived you of your precious power. Now you are no stronger than an ordinary person. And your descendants will be ordinary people. Let's just say that the Uchiha is no more. Someone will say that it was necessary to do torture, i.e. physical pain. But Naruto knew where to poke so that hell would come for him. No, 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 you can't commit suicide. Thanks to the hidden seal. Said the blonde, seeing Sasuke's attempts to commit suicide. Sasuke Kuyuan. Sakura flew at him. Naruto decided to leave this couple and ran to the scattered cells. Naruto, I was so afraid that something would happen to you. Having met him, Kurama hugged the blonde. Don't be afraid, I'm fine, Uzumaki hugged back. Naruto, since we're done, you will become the next Hokage. Tsunade said. Thank you grandma, but I will refuse. I want to spend my time on my family. I refused the bijou's offer, giving my old headband to the slug princess. I don't mind, but then you'll invite me to the wedding, she said and went to the army. Naruto, Kurama began. What? I want a fox. You will have a little fox. A couple of years later, a lot happened. All the bijou became free and began to live for their own pleasure, all the current heads decided to maintain peace and order. The entire course of the main character found a place in the world. The life of the Uchiha was still hell, but there was sad news especially for Naruto. While the heroes were studying with the sage, Kaguya learned that Hinata had a pure Byakugan. After killing her, she kept them for the future. And to be honest, the author again slept through the moment with Hinata. She should have died in the 19th part, but as usual the author forgets this, and remembers it almost a month after that. Yes, I am like this, smiley face. Well, everything went well for Naruto and Kurama. They had twins, a girl, Ami, and a boy, Hiro. This is where the story ends.